This is where the fun begins.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
King Kong ain't got shit on me!
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure,
stay
everyone?
calm.
What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Say my name.
And here we go.
What's going on, guys? As you see, is if you're watching the video on YouTube today, I am actually joined with a guest today. Jessica's not with us on this episode, but she'll be back in the next one. So don't have any, fun intros. I'm still trying to figure out how the hell I really want to do that for myself on Reelish. Jessica introduces, a lot of things we do on here, but I'm trying to figure out some stuff myself. So I'll get used to it. But I'm actually joined with Matt Tirado. If you guys have watched any of the other shows under OTS, you know about We Can Be Heroes. This is one of the brains behind the show, We Can Be Heroes. I'm gonna let him give you guys a little spiel about it, let you guys know more if you haven't picked up on it. But Matt, I appreciate you for joining me today, bro.
Yeah, listen, first I want to thank you for the opportunity for having me on as a guest today. I'm looking forward to what we'll be discussing. So just give a little bit of background about myself. I run the We Could Be Heroes podcast with my brother Jonathan Tirado. We basically discuss anything from like Marvel, DC, into basically like different mediums in regards to heroes. So any hero you can think of. It's really an opportunity for us to geek out about stuff that we've been passionate about for 10 plus years at this point, and to be able to actually speak directly to an audience is pretty cool. So that's sort of the gist of what we do over there. And like I said, thank you to Derrick for having me today.
Hey, no doubt, bro. I appreciate it because I love the show, man. You guys have a lot of good perspectives on there. I've been on it twice, I think.
I think so, like 2 or 3 times, I think.
Around there. Yeah, probably 3. Yeah, but I love it, man. Y'all do a great job. You kill it over there.
Appreciate it.
So I'm glad to bring you on, because you and I've had a couple conversations just on the show that I think like even when Jonathan was sitting there, you could see he wasn't picking up on a lot of stuff we were talking about from the cinematic perspective or whatever like that. I think we have a film perspective, you and I, in terms of looking
definitely
at it from different perspective, and I think we kind of maybe bored him and Dwayne out a little bit sometimes. Episodes. But yeah, I'm glad to have you on, man. This has been a long time coming. What have you been into the last week or so? Like, what have you been watching? Various things, movies or anything like that?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been trying to, because recently Disney Plus launched like the whole new parental control guides or whatnot for the Netflix series, the X Netflix series, Marvel Netflix series, so Daredevil, Iron Fist, etc. So I've been getting back into Daredevil, the first season. My goal is to sort of binge watch all the series in order.
Mm-hmm.
One show if you were on We Can Be Heroes, is a certain show we don't like to talk about, so we're just gonna focus on Daredevil. But Daredevil is if you know the reference, you know the reference. But yeah,
are you gonna check it out again? Are you gonna make yourself suffer through that?
Check it out. Probably. I might, honestly, I think I might just watch a recap on YouTube. I'm not looking forward to the idea of me sitting for 10 plus hours and having that be a part of my experience. It
was insufferable just watching it the first time. I can't imagine putting myself through that again, man.
That's just, this is therapy for us. But anyways, on a more serious note, I've been a huge fan of the Daredevil character for a while now. I mean, the show literally sparked my passion to read like some of the comics. I can't remember the titles off the top of my head. They're around here somewhere. I have like the actual graphic novels, like some of the more popular ones, like The Man Without Fear is an iconic one that I have. And all that. So, and then of course I've been had the opportunity to binge watch Bel Air recently. I know the finale dropped sometime this week. I think yesterday, even if I'm not mistaken. They do Friday releases. Thursday. That was sort of a great experience, and obviously we'll have a bunch to discuss. But what about yourself? Anything interesting or?
Actually, I'm not sure if you, because you're in New York, so I'm pretty sure most New Yorkers know about that church, Hillsong. You heard about that?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, so there's a docu series on Disney, no, Disney Plus, Discovery Plus. Um
Okay.
this is covering this very popular church called Hillsong. And it's like 3 episodes. They it's a lot of stuff in it. I would, if you're not familiar with it, it's a very celebrity, why should maybe celebrity driven type of church, I guess, because they have a lot of, it's a mega church. I think I want to say it's in Manhattan. I'm probably wrong about that. But it's somewhere up there. Justin Bieber was one of his biggest supporters, I guess. And you know, it's Justin Bieber, Lenny Kravitz was there. I think some of the Kardashians. There was a lot of people that would go to the church from time to time,
Really?
right? Yeah.
Wow, wow,
Um,
wow.
and because I used to go to a mega church, I was able to kind of like, there was a lot of stuff they discussed in there that I've either witnessed or experienced myself. But they're on a different level because it's a global thing. The church actually, I think it was started in Australia, and it branched out from there. And the one that's in New York actually became the first one in America. So the series I was watching it because we're going to actually cover it on Past the Aux, because we're talking
Oh,
about
okay.
it from a music perspective.
Gotcha, gotcha,
With that
gotcha.
whole thing, they have a band and stuff like that. It's a very intriguing story. I would actually suggest, if you're into documentaries or docu series, it's a good one to get into. It's only 3 episodes, like maybe like an hour episode long per episode, but really good watch, good understanding. So I got into that. Um, what else did I watch this week? Of course, Bel Air. Oh, Disney Plus. There was a movie. I like animated films. Okay, so
Yeah,
really big into
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
Shrek,
yeah.
all that stuff. Like Toy Story was my I want to say Toy Story and The Lion King were my favorite films as a kid. Like, animated or not, those are my two favorite films. And so
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, yeah.
I watched everything like that, right? So I actually, there was a new one on Disney Plus called Turning Red. And
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, very interesting film. Because I didn't know, one thing I like about Disney is that a lot of their films now, I know, like Raya and the Last Dragon, Encanto, um I forgot what the other one was called, but there, a lot of them are now getting into different cultures and actually teaching about those cultures, from a nice animated perspective, but it actually teaches you different things that you probably wouldn't know otherwise. And this one was, so I'm trying to be more politically correct in terms of how I say this, because I know this is not the right way to say it. So anyone, forgive me. I know, but it's the Asian culture. Um, some of their beliefs and background on different things. That's what this kind of covered on in that film. And it was a really good movie. I'm not sure that that's probably one of the newer ones that they've come out with that I can't see myself like watching multiple times though.
Yeah, I
Um,
see what you mean. Because I've heard, I kept hearing a lot of bunch of controversy started coming out about the film, like very divisive views.
really.
But I never, for me personally, I never understood. Like what you told me
Mm,
is that is the first thing, like the first descript, like official description I've heard from a person who's watched the film. So I
got you,
had no
got you.
idea what they were like, what type of themes they were capturing.
Okay.
I just know that I think one of the main characters can turn into a panda.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that's like the that
It's a
was the
red panda.
basic. Exactly. So that was the
Yeah.
basic. That was like the only premise I knew
Okay.
as to
Okay.
what they were going to cover. So no, it is
Yeah.
great though, and like you
Yeah.
said, I mean, it's a long time coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Representation that should have been around for decades, as opposed to
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. many years had to pass by before
Mm-hmm.
people can actually see themselves in characters beyond just the words they say out on screen. They want
For
to see
sure.
like a physical representation of themselves,
For
which I think
sure.
is awesome.
For sure. I feel I'm not gonna lie. I feel sometimes hesitant with talking about animated movies because I'm 32 years old, and I know people like those are for kids, but like I don't know if it's just like the inner child in me or just I actually grew up drawing a lot, so I was actually going to try to get into animation. That was my first step into media production, was going to Art Institute, and I was trying to actually become an animator, but I didn't realize how much you had to draw, like
Yeah.
all the time, bro. It sucked the love out of drawing for me doing that. I only did animation, I think one quarter at Art Institute, and then I switched over right into cinematography. I was like, I'm not doing this.
No, I listen. I
Yeah.
just have to comment. It's funny you bring it up because I never realized the amount of work that goes into animation, whether it
Mm.
be film, TV, or video games.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that, I mean, the painstaking hours those animators have to go through,
Mm-hmm.
um, just to pick up on like those like minor details. Like I think there's a reason why Pixar has become revolutionary in recent
Mm.
years is because their character designs are
Yes,
so eerily realistic.
yes, and
Like
highly detailed.
oh yeah, I mean Toy Story 4 is an example.
Yes,
Like the
yes,
opening scene where you saw the rain like reflecting off of. I was
yeah.
thinking like that's not that shouldn't be possible. Like
We'll see,
how
and that
you know?
like Toy Story. I think it was Toy Story 2 when Woody had his arm repaired. It was like ripped off and then
Oh,
repaired.
the repairing montage. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I think it was Toy Story 2 and 3. I can't remember. I didn't look at 4 to for this detail, but apparently his arm was still puffier than the other one. For
Oh,
2 and 3. I was like, that's detail I like
me too.
stuff you don't even look at. You just wouldn't pay attention to when you go back and actually study through. And that's I love that. One of the things, actually, you know what? You know how if you guys watched last episode, We Could Be Heroes, we actually discussed a little bit of Batman. We all discussed the Batman with Robert Pattinson. Um, but in preparation for that, I did actually watch uh, the '89 Batman. So Batman Returns, and I watched those two before we did that, and I was starting to watch Batman Forever, I think,
Mm.
after that. But one of the things that I remember actually as a kid watching those films is how they would switch from the live action shot to cartoon to get the escape of Gotham and all that. And it always pissed me off. I don't know why as a kid I was mad at seeing the cartoon Gotham and all that stuff.
Yeah, sort of the gothic aesthetic they're going for.
Yeah.
I've never been
Yeah.
a fan of that Tim Burton
Yeah.
vision.
Yeah. I don't know why they mixed it like that. Like I get
Yeah.
it because it's a little cheaper to do it like that than to go out and shoot green screen or shoot an actual set that you built.
Yeah.
But
It gets very campy.
it
At
does.
least
It does.
for today's time, that is,
Yeah.
back then that was. I mean, again, I'm not overly familiar with 80s media or 80s films,
Yeah.
but I'm sure there was like a very specific appeal to like younger generations,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah. Well, I think to me, it almost looked as if they weren't even trying to I can't say they weren't trying to hide it, but it when you're watching it, there's some points where like back then, growing up, I would watch it and there'd be certain scenes that I'm like, okay, that's definitely cartoon. But then there was other scenes where I'm looking, I'm like, is that cartoon? So I don't know if it's as a kid because I couldn't really pick up on it, or it's because they really did it like that. But it just pissed me off.
Yeah.
It really pissed me off. And then like as an adult, I know we get very nostalgic with things we grew up on, those Batman films did not hold up. I definitely want to talk to you and Jonathan about those in length in terms of actually ranking our Batmans, because I have probably like a really controversial perspective on it now after going back and watching Batman and Batman Returns.
Can I be totally honest with you?
Yeah.
I've never watched Batman 89.
Okay, go back and watch it.
I watched Batman Returns. For my first live action Batman movie was Batman Returns, which is crazy. And I remember, I think it was definitely, they were playing it on live television.
Yeah.
And like Catwoman, like for my age, Catwoman wasn't exactly the most like age appropriate character with how they depicted her.
Yeah.
So my mom walked in, she was like, nope, turn on the TV and everything. So
yeah,
that's the experience I had. I don't even think I finished watching the movie. I think, or I think I turned it back on and I lowered the volume when she was like off in the kitchen. I finished watching the movie. But,
I think we all did that too. I'm pretty sure. I had to sneak and watch the Jackson. What was the name of that movie? There was a movie on Jackson 5, that was on BET, that was about 5 hours long. And it actually was, I think it was on ABC when I was a kid. And my sister and I were trying to sneak and watch it. My parents would not let us, but I snuck and watched it because they actually had a little black and white TV in our room. So I turned that thing on and they trying to
like gauge the volume.
Oh my God. It was fun times, man. Fun times. But I don't know that if you go back and watch Batman Returns, okay.
Yeah.
I would say watch 89 and then watch that one. Because I have a real controversial opinion about Michael Keaton's Batman.
Is that because the typical is he was good for the time. Is yours that he's among like the best regardless of time he's in, or something entirely?
I don't think his was like good.
Oh, at all?
I don't think it was good. And I like as a kid, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, this is phenomenal, right? This is my first time seeing Batman live action. Yeah. I never watched the Adam West Batman. Like that was the 50s, I think, 50s or 60s. So I never watched it. I think I've seen clips and stuff like that, but I just can't bring myself to watch that. But
yeah,
if you go back and watch this, bro, the choreography, we talked about before with the Iron Fist choreography versus Daredevil, right?
Or we look at like Nolan's choreography.
Yeah. This does not. This is actually worse than Nolan's choreography, bro.
I you know why? Because the films, or let me be more specific. So Batman Returns, from what I remember, what I feel like at times it was self-aware.
Yes.
So that's why you see like Batman treating so many situations jokingly. But that's not who he is as a kid. Like it's
as
honestly like if you watch the film and you think that Keaton's Batman is accurate,
yes,
I no hope. Like you cannot sit there and say like he's straight up like murdering people. Definitely murder. Well, I want to say murdering people.
No, he did. He murdered people.
Defense, but
he murdered people for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. And I know that was a big
for like deviation.
Controversy for Ben Affleck's version, but that was the first thing that came to mind. I was like, y'all, this is not the first time we've seen Batman kill someone. It's not his thing, but it's not the first time we've seen him kill someone, right?
Valid point. Yeah.
In the animated versions, that was never something that I remember seeing is him actually killing someone.
Oh no,
I don't remember ever seeing that. But with the live action, Michael Keaton's version, I have to go count that. But Michael Keaton's version is probably responsible for around 8 to 10 deaths.
In between both films, or
yes, between both films.
Oh, Jesus.
I want to say it's about 8 to 10. I mean, he deliberately bombed like 6 guys sitting around the Batmobile.
Oh, you know what? I think I do remember watching the original Batman because wasn't there a scene where he was walking down, was it an alleyway? Uh, he was basically walking out in public,
Mhm.
and then some like Doug ran up to him with a bomb, and then he
Yes.
like knocked him in the sewer, like he just knocked him in the sewer, and then he just like walked away, like with his clothes in the
Yeah.
background.
No.
I remember. I
He
think I remember
attached.
watching it now. Yeah.
He attached something to his. Cause I think he was wearing a bomb or something. He attached it to his chest that he couldn't get it off, and he was trying to take it off or whatever. And Batman threw him down to into the sewer or something like that, and that's when
Yeah.
it exploded. I
Wow.
was like if we're gonna critique Ben Affleck's version like that,
Yeah. Hold that same standard
Michael
for.
Keaton's did kill people as well. This is not the first time we've seen
Yeah.
it, but
For
his
me,
Batman does not hold up at all.
oh yeah, I think that, and like I've said to John a lot of times, is it's something that he brought up too, because I was
Mhm.
under the impression, I used to be under the impression that making something accurate
Mhm.
isn't make thereby make something good. That's not true.
Right.
My main issue now is stop trying to claim something is accurate when it is not, and then justifying that, oh, that's what makes the story so. No,
Yeah,
accuracy does
yeah.
not mean, because MCU Spider-Man is not, it's not comic book accurate at all. He's
Right.
not. You have a right to like him, but
Mhm.
like John Watts has literally said he is like he has a fundamental misunderstanding of the character. He
Yeah.
literally admitted in an interview that he's like, I never read Spider-Man comics, but I used to sketch him in the journals. That was like his only knowledge of Spider-Man
Wow.
growing up. Knew
Wow.
nothing about, and I wish I could link you to the video. I literally look up Spider-Man Homecoming. He admits that in an interview. It's like, I used to never read Spider-Man comics. I just used to sketch them in journals. So
Wow. See,
not this,
and
yeah.
I think it's fine to kind of like deviate. I don't have a problem with that. Make it your own.
Yeah.
Like Joel Schneider with the George Clooney Batman. Um, you know, I didn't
Yeah.
realize Val Kilmer's was just like his. I didn't I because I was watching Batman Forever. I still haven't finished it, but same way. He had the nipples and everything. I was like,
That's right. That's
I
right.
didn't realize his had that as well. I thought it was just George
Yeah.
Clooney's that was like
I
that.
it's crazy. It really is.
Oh my god. Yeah. I'm okay with putting your stamp on things, like making your own, but not deviating too much from what the centralized character is supposed to be or was
Sure.
designed to be, right?
Sure.
Um
Find that like nice balance between making something refreshing and then at least trying
yes.
to pay tribute. And that I'm this is why I'll have I get a chance to talk with you. But I'm happy you said that, because I feel like Marvel, for instance,
Mhm.
I feel like they're doing whatever they can to sidestep from the comics. Like they're
Yeah.
embarrassed of embracing their origins, so they feel the
Yeah.
need. Oh, listen, we're the MCU. We have to do something different, and then they
Mhm.
start making characters deviate completely from the comics.
Yeah.
Examples can be, I mean, Scarlet Witch is probably way more deranged in the comic. Well, maybe we'll get hints of that in Multiverse of Madness.
Mhm.
Hulk
Oh yeah,
is a
yeah,
prime
yeah,
is a huge
yeah.
example. I know Professor Hulk is in the comics and he has his own like origin and so forth, but
Mhm.
like what they did for him prior to that, they still made him like the front of a ton of unnecessary jokes.
Yeah.
Hawkeye is definitely an example.
Oh my
It-
god. Yeah.
he's a huge
He's actually a lot
example.
older than what he should be.
Yeah, I mean he's very. I picked up. Oh my goodness, the what's the name of the graphic novel? Um, the Fraction run, Matt Fraction's run
Mhm.
of Hawkeye. I
Mhm.
forgot the name of the first issue, but right out of the gate, you can tell like Hawkeye in the comics has very dry humor, and he's
Yeah.
sort of, I'm trying to think of like the word. It's just like he's a very like specific character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is his character almost like the Flash in terms of the dry humor?
It's like
Because I never read any of his
it,
comics.
It's more from what I read, like his comedy is more subtle,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I think what amplifies the comedic moments is his relationship with Kate Bishop, at least in the issue that I read.
Okay.
So like Kate has more of like the personality, and then like Hawkeye is sort of like the more laid back person. They adapted some of that in the Hawkeye series,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I still
Yeah.
feel like they could have. I don't know. Like I think now they're trying to embrace it, but there's way too many examples of Marvel just going
Yeah.
off the rails. I'm
Doing
not
their
sure if
own
you
thing.
agree or
No,
disagree
I
or
agree. I completely agree. It's and again, I'm okay with doing that in certain aspects, but I'm one of the guys that wants things to be, kind of like held true. Um, for example, I know someone I heard something about I don't know if this is going to be a true thing or not. But there's been this campaign for I think the last year and a half, 2 years of a black Superman going
yeah,
into with Michael B. Jordan as Superman, right? And
phenomenal actor.
I love him. I love him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't actually don't have a problem with Superman being black. I have a problem with interrupting what's going on with Henry Cavill's Superman because I don't think that's over, one, but two, I don't know that uh it would fully make sense unless you're going to use this Robert Pattinson version of DC to jumpstart a whole new DCEU. Then I think I'm fine with it. I
Right.
just don't think that Henry Cavill's version is over. But Henry Cavill's version to me is actually the best Superman that I've seen. I think his is the best. Tom Welling is the best portrayal, I think, overall of the character right now.
Sure.
Um, just because you get more in depth with him, so longer. You have like 10 seasons to get in depth with the character, right?
Yeah.
So it's a
Have you
longer.
oh, definitely. Have you seen Superman and Lois on CW yet?
No, I
I,
can't bring myself to watch it.
because of the CW being attached
Pretty
to the
much,
series
I
or
almost feel like CW like let me not go that far. Because CW actually did a good job with Smallville. I loved Smallville, right? That's actually the show. That's the project that actually made me like Superman. Before that, as a kid, I absolutely hated Superman. I hated everything about him.
hmm,
There was no weakness outside of the kryptonite. So it's like everything that I saw with him is he's just indestructible. There's no balance, there's no levity there to say that this is something that you're like with Batman. Batman is a man in a suit, right? So he doesn't have any superpowers, but outside of his intellect, and he can outsmart everyone, right? That's what I loved about him. Superman was just like, if you don't have kryptonite, you can't do anything to him. And I'm so for everyone that's watching, I'm actually more of a villain guy. So the villain to me is if the villain is not good in the story, the hero to me can't be that good, right? Like
oh,
I'm
okay.
not I'm
So
not into it like that.
let me ask you this question. Like Batman, for instance. Like this is the question I remember. Like there's an interviewer, Jake Hamilton. He asked this like to the Gotham cast. I thought it was like a phenomenal question.
Mhm.
So I'm going to reiterate what he said, what he had asked to the cast back then.
Okay.
His question was, is Batman a good character because of his villains, or are his villains good characters because of Batman?
I think Batman is a good character because of his villains, right? You're as let me put it like this. In a sports perspective, right? We usually for instance with basketball, there's a lot of arguments that certain players aren't ranked as high as other players because they won rings against teams that weren't good, right? Maybe not, maybe because they just weren't good in terms of, not having great players, or the team, they're just whatever, because I know that was a whole thing with the East was weak and all that stuff, right? When you have great opposition, it makes you better. It takes you to a higher level. it makes you do things, maybe more strategic, and you're thinking about different things from a different way than if you have less opposition. So with Batman, that's why I loved Heath Ledger's Joker, right? That's why I love Tom Hardy's Bane. Those villains were so strong that it forced Batman to think differently. But that's what made the film. You take those villains out, what do you have? Right? Even if you want to go back to the 89 version of Batman, I have nothing but respect for Michael Keaton. But that movie is not what it is today without Jack Nicholson as Joker. You see what I'm saying? Like Black Panther, love the character, but Black Panther's movie wouldn't have been as strong if Killmonger wasn't there.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I see what you're getting at. It's an interesting conversation to have because, like some villains, some villains are very cartoonish.
Yes,
like the ones with the most cliched motivations, world domination, wanting to wanted to like enact revenge on somebody who did them wrong, etc. But the characters like you mentioned, Joker. Batman cannot live without Joker in the same way Joker cannot live without Batman.
Yes.
Joker is what Batman will become, and then Batman is someone Joker could become. Yeah. Interestingly enough. So like that dichotomy is on display. Yeah. You have Black Panther and Killmonger, who grew up in completely different circumstances. One in this very wealthy, privileged lifestyle, and another obviously was essentially fostered in a broken system, essentially.
Right.
And interestingly enough, that's sort of literally the one of the core elements of Bel Air that obviously we'll be discussing.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, and that's why I think it's always important for a hero to have some type of connection to the villain.
Yes.
And even if they're not like biologically related, or they don't have this weird like ancestry where like, oh, my great grandfather married this person, and then like in like the 3rd century, like, you know what I mean? Like they have like a weird explanation to tie them together. Sometimes villains and heroes are meant to be together.
Yes.
Because
the
universe wields itself.
Yeah.
And that's what makes for some of the most compelling interactions that we see in all forms of media. So
no, I agree. It's the opposition that you have that makes the story more intriguing with different characters. And if you don't have the opposition, you're not like, even going back to the animated stuff, Scar. If Scar's not in the Lion King, what are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean,
Mufasa still lives. Simba is probably still, this little spoiled brat. You know what I'm saying? Like, it made the story. Without Scar, you don't have a good story.
Yeah,
you need that opposition.
That reminds me of like you can give so much, like a list of examples. You can give Loki from Thor 1, top 5 MCU movie.
Yes.
I still have to put that. I still have to put that plug in. You have Thanos from Infinity War.
Yes.
Literally like
Magneto.
Oh, Magneto, like Professor X.
Yes.
Like you can give. I have a Marvel banner right in front of me, so I can probably think of like all the different characters. But no, it's so vital. For a villain of some, or not even a villain. I feel like that's the word tossed around a lot, because villain we often associate with antagonist, and that's not always the case.
It's not. It's not.
Like Thanos is arguably the protagonist of Infinity War, and the Avengers are the antagonists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, which is very weird, but yeah.
It's interesting. That's why I think like Infinity War is the crowning jewel of the MCU. I mean, that is a culmination of 3 phases of films. Infinity War being the last one, technically speaking. I'm not sure if Far From Home was the last. Far From Home's like phase. I keep
I
hearing
don't even know.
all over the place, but
And then where do you put Black Widow? Because that came out significantly later.
that's yeah. Actually, that's a good point because usually we associate. I think phases are just based on like the films themselves, not the chronology of
Okay. Okay. Okay.
but the universe, does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
I got you.
but
I got you.
that's just I forgot about honestly I forgot about Black Widow for a second there,
Me
but
too. Trust me.
yeah. But
Yeah.
it's yeah, like I said, like it's a kind of conversation you can have with someone for ages. You know, you can
Yeah.
keep listing like examples, Invincible and Omni Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
like
Yes. Yes.
it's just
Yes.
it's just yeah, like all I can say is, I love the right villain can make a good story.
Yeah. And that's why if you don't have a good villain,
You have nothing.
it's just it might be okay. Like that's what I see with the Arnold Schwarzenegger Mr. Freeze, right?
Oh yeah, all the cold puns and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
not good. It's not good. It's not. There's nothing that ropes you into intrigue and uh wonder. Like it's just. I know he's gonna win. That's weak.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
weak, right? Like it just with different movies, shows, even video games. Like you want that you want that struggle, you want that fight. And I think that's what makes everything better. That's what lifts the story up to
Yeah.
another level is you have that opposition. So yeah, I mean, like again, I know I kind of like led that into a tangent, excuse me, but the whole thing I was even just talking about from the beginning was the Michael 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 B. Jordan, Superman.
Superman, that's right.
Yeah, I want, I do, I want to see something with him, but uh, I like him in the MCU. I think that's what pisses me off even more. Like, I think with him staying in the MCU, to me, that would be much better than him going to the DCEU because it's something that kind of confuses things, and not only that, but DC is just not, they're not together. They don't know
It's
what they really want
yeah,
to do. So I don't.
especially with yeah. I mean, especially with their previous track record. I mean,
Yeah.
essentially firing Ray Fisher from the role of
See,
Cyborg,
and that's another
refusing to
thing.
give him his due pay,
Yeah.
and interestingly enough, or coincidentally enough,
Mm-hmm.
um, the news suddenly sparks that they want to introduce a black Superman. I'm not
Right.
opposed to that.
Yeah.
That's the thing that bothers me because it's just a matter of Warner Bros. Going, oh, we made one mistake of firing a person of color, so no, that's not no.
That's not how
You
you
can
do it.
have you. That's not how you do it.
Yeah.
Like, don't try to justify representation by getting rid of already existing representation.
Right.
That
Right.
doesn't make any sense. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're the villain.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to like completely like overshadow what like your literal wrongdoings, and it's just
Yeah.
it's wrong. And
It's
I think it might
patronizing.
be 100%. Like, and Michael B. Jordan's a phenomenal actor. I
Yep.
sure as hell watched a series or movie with him.
Just
But
because of them.
it has to be done right, and it can
Yeah.
be done. Multiverse,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
It can be done, and that would be. I think that would be the only reason why I would be slightly intrigued with it, because now we could see Michael B. Jordan versus Henry Cavill. Like if they
Yeah,
decided to do something like that, I think that would be interesting.
that'd be
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, don't do it just to do it. Do it to make it make sense. And I think that's
Yeah,
one of the things with a lot of these films. Like you go back to what we were talking about earlier, it was about the accuracy. I like for things to feel authentic, and that's why I think having it accurate makes more sense to me, because it feels more authentic in certain ways. But make it your own for sure. Just do it the right way. And
yeah,
I think the even a lot of stuff we've already talked about, like there's other things that I don't the Jesse was Eisenberg who played Lex Luthor,
that's right.
Batman vs Superman. his is not accurate. Like, because one, that's Lex's son, Lex. That's not Lex, right? That he was acting as, right? They introduced it as Lex, and then this is his son. Like, it's not. No, that's not how you do it, man. So the accuracy, again, I'm cool to spin, but and then even again, we talked about like I'm sorry, I'm going to rants, but
no, listen. This is, like I said, very first thing I said. Well, this is therapy for us. So any time for us to like dispel our emotions in front of all the people at home, then
for sure. But that's what pissed me off.
Any.
That's what pissed me off about the Christopher Nolan trilogy.
Yeah,
Robin is not a police officer. He's not grown by the time he becomes Robin. He's a kid.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's just
what okay, so I may be in the minority here. So I know a ton of fans felt the whole Robin reveal was anticlimactic.
It was. It stole from me.
I loved it. If I'm being totally honest, I thought that was a clever spin on the character, especially when he is essentially becoming the next Batman anyways. So it's not like he'll be wielding I mean, presumably he wouldn't be wielding a Robin-esque costume. He's just simply taking over the mantle of the hero who saved Gotham.
I figured he was going to become Nightwing. Actually,
that would have been
That's what I thought when I saw
Nolan's version of Nightwing. That would have been great too, or even become like a Tim Drake.
Yeah.
But then again, he was like obviously I'm not knocking on his character's intelligence, but I was never under the impression that he can solve like the most complex algorithms in like a matter of like minutes, like Tim can do in the comics or something like that. But like I said, I thought it was clever, but
it was clever because it was hidden, right?
Yeah.
When I saw it the first time I saw it, I was like, oh snap, this was you, Robin, cool. And then I went back and watched it again. I was like, nah, that's not Robin, bro. That's not how you do Robin, man. I need something different. I'm cool with seeing a new Robin. We need to see a new Robin. Actually, it's been Chris O'Donnell I don't want that to be the last. I mean, I know Teen Titans, all that stuff, right? But in terms of films, I Chris O'Donnell being the last Robin, actual Robin, we gotta get something soon. And
oh shoot, that's right. We haven't gotten a live action Robin since 1994.
Somewhere in the range.
Whenever Batman and Robin.
6, I don't even remember. It was somewhere around there. And I remember as a kid, I liked it because it was cartoonish. It kind of, but growing up, like as you watch it, it's just, it doesn't age well. His Robin is so corny. Like, nah, man.
That is wild. I never thought about that.
Yeah. It's time. We need a new Robin. We need a new
Matt Reeves, baby. Matt Reeves.
And I'm actually okay with them. If they wanted to go in that direction, go ahead. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. It's like I don't know that I really want to see a child, but maybe more so like close to like a teenager would make more sense as Robin.
Yeah. Because I think
14, 15, like that. Somewhere that age where you're a real rebel as a kid, like to me.
And you're more intimidating in a way too.
More intimidating. Yeah, I think that would make more sense. Especially with his Batman. So I'm with it, man. I would love to see it.
Yeah, 100%.
Love to see it. Yeah, but all right, guys, we are going to go ahead and take a quick break, and the next time you see us, we will be discussing, as you see, the 2022 iteration of Bel Air, which is the new version of Fresh Prince. So we'll be right back.
Hi, hello, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between. My name is Jessica Lemon, and I am the host of Sour, Sweet, and Spooky, a paranormal podcast with a little true crime squeezed in. Because where there's paranormal activity, there's gotta be some kind of true crime involved, right? I talk about ghosts, Aliens, murder, cryptids, urban legends, conspiracy theories, and more. Stories from all over the world for you to enjoy every week. So check me out on social media at Sour Sweet Spooky and pretty much every platform that podcasts are found. And be ready for a brand new story. Oh, and remember, stay sour, stay sweet, stay spooky.
All right, guys, welcome back. We are about to get into Bel Air, the reiteration of Fresh Prince, the 1990s classic 90s series that starring Will Smith. But we're gonna go ahead and get into that because I know Matt actually just watched it. Was it yesterday? Like you just binged it yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday and a bit, and I think a bit today as well. So it's
Okay.
it's fresh in my mind.
Yeah, it's real
Fresh in
fresh
my
in your
mind.
mind.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I know off air we kind of discussed it a little bit, but you said you didn't watch the original series, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're coming in with just the perspective of just this series. So that's going to be very interesting for us to discuss this because I want your opinion on some of the characters and their development and stuff like that. But first just give me your thoughts on what you thought overall of the series since you checked it out.
Yeah, I think I want to start off by saying that the performances from Carlton
Yes.
and Will in particular,
Yeah.
to my understanding, these are their debut acting roles, if I am not mistaken, and they did remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about not only starring in the revitalization of a popular sitcom, but to bring in your own spin and obviously surround yourself with already experienced actors is probably that's daunting and exciting as well, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Because of the relationships you form along the way.
Yeah.
And I think as a whole, you know, I really enjoyed the series. It's not without its issues, but I think my main takeaway was there's such a foundation to which this show can maximize its potential. You know, it's very reminiscent to like BoJack Horseman season 1, a series that was sort of like struggling with this whole like identity crisis, like one that wanted to lead into like the comedic nature of the show, which is like the idea of talking animals, and other times where they really wanted to explore mental health issues, and the like, but sometimes couldn't strike that right balance. I think this series, with it being having this very, so I'm trying to find out what like almost like dour tone.
Yeah.
It can be a bit I don't want to say unsettling, but it's eye-opening. I mean, to my knowledge, I mean the sitcom was very like it was relatively lighthearted, not without its conversations on gun violence, racism, etc. But they at least had sort of like the Will Smith at the very least, like sort of jamming in the humor at the right moments, but not taking away with what the overall message they're trying to send, or not taking away the message they're trying to send. So yeah, it was a very enjoyable series as a whole, and I think with more episodes and more seasons, I mean this can easily become like something to stand on its own, which is
for sure.
So those are sort of my final thoughts, and obviously we'll go more into details about the actual like filmmaking aspect of it, but sort of so you were watching a show when it first debuted, correct? So you watched episode 1 when it released, or
not when it released? Hold on, I want to say Bel Air came out in 90. I mean, not Bel Air, but Fresh Prince. See, that's almost probably a testament to how great this new show was.
Yeah.
I'm already calling it that. It came out 1990. So
okay.
I was born in 90. So yeah, I didn't watch this until 90. I want to say 96 is when I first started watching it. So I was about 6 years old when I picked up on it. 5 or 6 years old, and I absolutely loved it back then, right? And of course, it's one of those shows that, to me, stands as one of the best sitcoms in general, but especially in the 90s. I think it's one of the best ones that we've had. And it's probably not even just is I would probably say James Avery, who played Uncle Phil, is probably the main reason why that show was just as classic of a show as it was, because he was already in theater. He understood different elements of acting. He's actually the guy who helped Will Smith learn a lot of stuff that he utilizes even in film today. So
wow, okay.
Yeah, so especially I know this, you've probably seen the clip of it on social media, but there was a scene where Will was trying to get, close to his dad or whatever, and then the dad pulled away or whatever.
I know the exact scene you're referring to. Yeah. So I've seen.
He hugged Uncle Phil. He was like, how come he don't want me, man? And like he just grabbed him up and they embraced. To this day, that scene still gives me chills. Like that was probably one of the most impactful scenes of that series. So there were different things coming into Bel Air that I know there was. I forgot the guy's name, but there was a short that was a drama short of Fresh Prince of Bel Air that came out. I want to say either 2019 or 2020, which is why this show is
served as
that's what served as a catalyst for this. I think he brought that guy on to do this series, and when I saw it, I was like, okay, that'd be intriguing. I don't know how I feel about it as a whole, but I'm intrigued. And when they said that they were starting this, I saw Jabari Smith was supposed to be, supposed to be playing Will, and I was like, all right, I'm not sure where we're going with this, but cool. Then I start seeing the whole cast list. I'm like, I was intrigued. I was very intrigued, but I think what threw me off, because I thought one of the biggest things about Fresh Prince was that Will always joked around with Uncle Phil about his weight. And it was a main staple of the show. That I think it was all 6 seasons. That was something that was just constantly there, right? So when I saw that they casted, what's his name? Adrian Holmes as Uncle Phil, that's what threw me off, because I was like, oh, he's not big. Like, he's bald, he's got a beard, but he's not big. So I'm like, all right, I don't know where they're going with this show, man. Like, I didn't know what to fully think, because in my mind, Fresh Prince is just that's a classic. You don't touch classics, right?
Yeah.
Or if you do, you better make sure that this is going to be it. Like, because for example, I don't know if we're ever going to see a remake of The Godfather. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know who is going to actually be able to pull that off. I know there was talk about Scarface, but at the same time, I don't know what they're going to actually do, right? So coming into this, I was skeptical, but I'm gonna be completely honest. Episode 1, completely, I did not have any doubts about this series after I watched the first episode.
Yeah.
At all, because I was like, okay, so we're not going into. I originally thought, before they, actually came out with more details, I thought this was supposed to be like a comedy. I thought this was supposed to be, have the elements of drama in it, a little heavier than the original, but still going to be more of a comedy. This is so authentic and realistic. Yeah. This is what you would expect the story. You think about the story of Fresh Prince and with his mom sending him to Bel Air to get out of Philly, everything, like every situation leading up to that, uh just in the first episode of him going to Bel Air, I felt it. I felt it. It felt, because being able to get a deep dive, because that's what this whole series does. It allows you to do a deep dive into every character. You didn't get that with the Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
Fresh Prince came up in a time where sitcoms were more it was playful and not rooted in drama. And cool. I'm fine with that. I'm being completely honest with you. I want to see more of that. I want to see, if you're going to do, because I know Hollywood has this thing of doing these reboots and rehashing stories and stuff like that. If you're going to do that with these shows from the 90s, do it this way. Do it this way. I am perfectly fine with getting reboots if that's how they're going to do it. They're going to make it, again, make it their own. So I love it. I love it. I want to see more of this, and I hope that this series actually extends longer for the right reasons. Because we got the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. It's like a 30-minute episode. They did 6 seasons, right? I don't remember how many episodes were they had per season, but back in that day, it was closer to like 25 or 30 that they would do for per season. So I would imagine that they were somewhere around there. This is 10 hours. I mean, 10 hours. This is 10 1 hour episode. I love that. I love that. I think that's the way to go. We're in that era now, because you and I have discussed the whole streaming service and everything like that, right? We're in that day and age. Yeah, season 1 was 25 episodes, so we're in that day and age where the shorter the seasons are shorter, but the episodes are longer, and it gives you more stuff to work with.
Yeah,
I love that. We talked about this off air, but the Hillary, and I want you to do a deep dive in this, because the Hillary character, absolutely phenomenal. I love that they did not make her this airhead, and like, I love Karen Parsons. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't want to dump on her at all. That's not the goal of this. But they actually made her into someone you can actually, like, okay, I can vibe with her. Like, she's an actual character. She's not a caricature. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I felt like the original Hillary was.
Yeah, I think, my my sort of perception of Hillary from the original series, and again, like I've only watched scenes, so I never watched the entirety of the show.
Okay.
I've never seen the finale. I've never seen the pilot episode. So I am totally in the dark of what the show covered. I know somewhat of what the show covers, like as I alluded to earlier. Like, I'm aware of the episode of where Will and Carlton were unlawfully arrested.
Yes.
In the sitcom series, that is. Obviously, I'm fully aware of Will confronting his father after they were separated for X amount of years. But in terms of Hillary, any sort of comedic moment I saw was just a matter of her saying something like idiotic, or something that wasn't even relevant to what characters were actually discussing. So like a true airhead.
Yes.
And at least in this show, they made her feel more well-rounded. And well, I didn't particularly find her story, like her overall plot line, interesting. I think for me, I just never been a huge fan of introducing social media for television shows.
Okay.
The only reason is because a lot of it is them having to work around being unable. Well, actually, in this show, it's like the opposite. But track records from other shows, they do this weird workaround where they can't say the name of a specific of a specific platform, and they come with the weirdest like sounding name possible. So for me, like I think there are elements to Hillary's character that I sympathize with, or that I completely understood, like the idea of wanting to be dependent from your own parents. I think every single child on the planet, hopefully, right? Wants to reach a point where they can become economically self-sufficient and not have to rely on their parents to resolve every little issue, every minor inconvenience. Actually, we'll let to one of my favorite scenes is sort of Hillary getting into argument with her mother is like sometime, I want to say in episode 4 or 5, before she joined the influencer house. And she says, like, why can't you just be proud of me? Why can you not trust my decisions? And I grew up in a Hispanic household, so you don't raise your voice. You get the chanclas. But on a more So, but for me, like I think like in a more serious note, like you understand. You know what I mean? So for me, like I didn't find her. I think like I love the idea of her character in the show. I love her lines of dialogue. I just didn't like the circumstances they presented herself with, because I myself did not find that interesting. Not to say it can't be appealing to other people. It's just I thought anytime they cut away to her, I did not like it. I'm trying to rephrase it. I love the actress who played her. I just didn't like the situations they presented for her, if that makes sense.
No, I feel that. I feel that. Yeah, because it's one of those things where I liked it because of the fact that it presented Hillary with problems that she had to solve herself. So similar to what you were saying in terms of actually relying on your parents thing, that's what the original Hillary did. It was always like she was always asking her dad for money, always shopping, always splurging.
Cards,
it was the basic plot line of like a blonde spoiled rich kid that you would see in the 90s. That's what Hillary basically was. And so that's why I liked it, because this gave it not only more depth, but it showed that she's able to solve problems on her own, right? And not run to mom and dad for every single thing. So that's why I like it. But I get where you're coming from with the social media aspect, though, because it is very corny when you have to come up with this random name for a platform. I think they actually did a good job, because I don't remember them actually saying the name of the platform. But I think they did a good job of actually explaining what was going on with the platform. So you already you just understand this is Instagram.
So absolutely. And I think actually I stand corrected. So I think I think I should have phrased myself better. So they actually used like the word Instagram.
Oh, they did.
And TikTok at some point. It wasn't like they were like randomly dropping. They were dropping it when it needed to, like for certain conversations. It's just like that word you use, corny. I've always found it corny when you bring in like social media influencers. It's like it's just it gets very weird. It definitely did at some point. I was like, okay, like I know what you're getting at, but like I really feel like you can give her something else to work. Like, you know what I mean? What I love to start off with is her chasing, like Hillary chasing her culinary dreams in the beginning, and how she's constantly being denied by all of these sort of I'm gonna put quotes around this, like these like high-end people, who have a very specific way of doing things, right? I mean, they even claim, they essentially claims, right? Like they claim that, well, you're not cooking for your family, you're cooking for a completely different crowd. It's like, what do you mean by that? Like, all people can have the same palate. So why try to make this weird implication that you want to, the implication was like a subtle racism.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Ultimately,
it definitely was.
ultimately,
Yeah,
you know what I mean, or probably blatant racism. It was just their way of like not trying to be like, you know what I mean, like trying to like do this weird workaround, like but we don't want to like no stop, like you want to appease people for certain for racial reasons, which is which is fundamentally wrong. That's why I love when Hillary obviously they stood up to it and obviously obviously exposed those particular people on social media. So that I liked. I just didn't. I just like I said, like the whole social media aspect, I've never really liked in TV shows in general. I don't know why. I think because in real life nowadays, it's just it's so full of like drama and everything like that. So I just don't want I don't want to like infuse my own like bias and then say the show is bad because oh the brain like no that's it's realistic. Like
no, I
these
feel
are,
you on that.
these are teenagers, younger adults. Like they have access, they have cell phones. They're always texting and everything. But it just depends on execution. I just thought it was a bit corny at times for my liking. But I think you explained it beautifully in the sense of what it did to serve a character.
Yeah, no, and the thing about it though is, I think they paired up two characters that were very similar in that way, and with the original. So Hillary and Jazz, right? If you watch the original series, Jazz is I wouldn't call him an airhead, but he's like I don't know the right way to describe him. He's almost like just this guy that's just around that, I mean, I love his character in in the original series, right? Like I loved all of those characters. I love the entire show, but his character didn't have any depth with him as well. He was almost like comedic relief. That's the perfect way to put it. He was comedic relief, and because he was comedic relief, he was someone that was almost used as a punching bag of sorts on the show. And when you do that to a character, that character doesn't have time to develop much, right? It's just, oh, I'm here, bang, 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 I'm gone, right? It was something like that. So with him in this show, and he in the original series, he was really he loved Hillary, like he had a crush on her, everything like that. But Hillary always didn't give him the time of day. So with this show, pairing them together to where you see that they have interest in each other, I actually like that. It allows them to have depth, and you even see from the very first time that he and Will meet, he seems to be like the voice of reason from the start. So to close the season off with him being the voice of reason was very poetic, right? Like it was very intriguing how they placed him in the show, because it wasn't a comedic relief. He still had, he was still silly, but he was intentional. And I love that they made him Muslim. I'm not sure, I can't remember if he was originally Muslim in the original series or not. But I love that they actually discussed that a little bit in this series, where it's like it's apparent, like this is this is how I am, and I love that. I'm all for it. I think that they actually did a great job with being able to balance. You know how, like, if you watch certain films that have an all-star cast, like almost any type of Adam Sandler film, right? It doesn't have that balance with the characters versus a Dave Chappelle type thing, or there was someone else that does oof Eddie Murphy. He's better example. He does all-star cast films where, okay, this makes sense, they flow together. And I feel like at the beginning of this season, like, we didn't know these people, right? By the time you get to like episode, maybe even 3 or 4, you're starting to feel like they're an all-star cast, and it's like they flow very well together. And that was something that I didn't see that coming at all. I didn't expect to fall in love with the whole cast the way I did. I thought, okay, certain guys, whatever. Aunt Viv, since you didn't watch the original series, right? The original series, Aunt Viv, she's a dark-skinned woman, and she embraced her love of art. She more vocal. She had more of a presence, and I think she actually complimented James Avery's Uncle Phil very well because of that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to again, not trying to get on the other Aunt Viv, Daphne, I forgot her last name, but Janet Hubert just did a phenomenal job, right? This Aunt Viv, bro, Cassandra Freeman, I'm gonna tell you this right now, that woman put her stamp on that character of Aunt Viv. And not only did she do that, she actually sounded like Janet Hubert's version. Like, and I think I'm say the same thing even with Jabari Smith playing Will. Like, he actually sounds like Will Smith in certain ways. Certain mannerisms, he kind of looks like Will in the show. And Cassandra Freeman, I mean, she did the same thing. Like, her voice, she somewhat sounded like the original Aunt Viv, but she really made this her own role. Like, I don't even care that she that this is a whole reboot. She made that her role, and I loved it. I loved it. So yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're all good. That reminded me too. Yeah, her performance was immaculate.
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely, like,
Yeah,
I think, we always discuss about scenes. The scene, one of the scenes that another scene that I love in the show is when, like I said, for being a drama, obviously tons of arguments ensues between characters, but they're at the very least, they're realistic, right?
mm-hmm.
I don't think we can expect. And that's something. This is sorry. I have a lot in my mind.
No,
So
go
let me
ahead,
just
go ahead.
sorry. Let me just speak to Aunt Viv. Is how, there's this underlying frustration, or resentment for having to sacrifice her own ambition in favor of Uncle Phil. So, to see her like emotionally breaking down, and make and sort of, no pun intended, like, she doesn't want to paint her husband as the villain, but urges him to realize, everything that I did, right, was in the pursuit of your endeavor. So why not give me the opportunity to do what I want? And I think for Uncle Phil, it was also critical because a lot of the show is about him. It's about him relying on others, and how he can very easily come off as selfish, even though he very much cares for his family. That's undeniable.
For sure.
And I think it literally had to take until his wife to say something, until Joffrey says something in regards to revealing the history of Will's father. For two of arguably the most important people of his life to look him in the eye and say, "You're not the man you were. You're continuing. You run the risk of drifting apart your family. So it's better for you to take a step back and think, what do I need to do to become a better man, to become a better father, and more especially to become a better husband." And I love that. I
sure.
genuinely love that, and I think you know the scene I'm referring to was in hotel when they were off at the art um not the auction but
That event.
the art event,
Yeah,
basically
yeah,
with Reed.
yeah.
Yeah, I was blown away in that regard. And yeah, I just
Amazing,
I was like,
absolutely amazing. You actually brought him up already, but Jeffrey, I am. I don't even think I have one bad thing to say about any of these actors that played any of these characters. I don't.
neither do I.
I
Like
don't
they
have
all
one
gave
bad
such
thing.
great performances.
They did.
I
They did. And Jeffrey, um, played by Jimmy, I'm probably gonna mess this up. So if somehow he watches this, Jim, I'm sorry, but Jimmy Akingbola, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He did a phenomenal job as Jeffrey, phenomenal, and
yeah.
I think if I'm not mistaken, so in the original series, Jeffrey is British, right? If I'm not mistaken, they made him Jamaican in this.
I believe so as well.
Okay,
Believe so as well.
so I was thrown off by that. Um, but at the same time, I loved it. One, I'm Jamaican, so I like, just that. But it actually made a little more sense
Yeah.
that because what I loved is that they called him the what was it, house manager or something like that. In the
Yeah.
original, he's a butler. So he was like, when they first introduced him in the series, mind you, again, anyone that's watching, if you listen to Reelish long enough, I don't watch trailers, any of that stuff. I just go into the project. If I follow the production and I go into the project. I didn't know this cast at all, so I had no expectation for anyone in particular. So when I first saw Jeffrey come on, they showed him first come on scene. I was okay. I could get with this. Like his mannerisms, he still has that stoic look about him. Um, he was someone that like in the original, he was a serious character. By just not serious. Let me not say that he wasn't a serious character in terms of always just being this serious as this Jeffrey was. He was still playful, but he was stoic at the same time. And I think that's what this one kind of. I think he really embellishes that aspect of this character
Yeah.
very well. And he's not seen as a butler,
Which I love.
I love
That and so I think another reason why they took Joffrey in such a different direction. And as you described, he was originally British in the sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
British people, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's just like a stereo. It's a very stereotypical casting choice
Mm-hmm.
for a British actor to play a butler.
Yeah.
So
yeah, especially in the 90s.
Especially in the 90s. So they wanted to work around and say, well, why don't we give Joffrey like sort of a different presence, a bit of a different role. It's not as obviously he clearly assists with grocery shopping, as is alluded to in the finale, because oftentimes we just suspect that his main priority is just it's to ensure the protection of his family, like as Will jokingly says, like a 007 agent, right? Who is able to find some of the most detailed information on the planet somehow. Which again comes into play for when Will, wants to discover who originally wants to discover the truth about his father, and then Carlton obviously lays it on him and says, this is what you have to see for yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, really, my only complaint is that with him being such a side character, there is no development given to him, because there was unfortunately none. That's not a knock on the actor, because at the end of the day, he does not have any control over the script writing. But they had like, and that's the thing why I keep saying like like the first season is so BoJack Horseman season 1 esque.
I never saw it.
Oh, you haven't? So
yeah,
it's basically like the show. Both seasons are trying, like both seasons have the groundwork to become something great.
Yes.
But it's sort of like they're sort of inching their way forward. Like they're still trying to get there, and that's what I saw. I'm watching the show, and out of curiosity, I looked at the reception. Like, what was like the perception? Because I liked what I saw. Critics seem to mostly like it. I'm assuming the fans did as well, even though everyone can have their opinions on what's better, this iteration or the original. But for me, like it's just I'm excited for season 2.
Oh yes,
I genuinely like. It's just like I watched the show and I'm thinking to myself, like there's so much potential here. Like the actors are giving great performances. But once they actually start to really like concentrate their sort of like try to concentrate as much as they can on like specific characters, like really give them like a more consistent like plot to work with, instead of like going from here and then treading backwards. And something like that is another issue BoJack Horseman suffered from, because it was kind of like one moment the main character, like, but it's an anime show about a talking horse basically. So like, but one moment like BoJack will just like, like have like will be completely intoxicated. He'll be at absolute worst, and at one moment like all of a sudden like he's falling in love with, you know what I mean? Like it's like it dials up to 11 and then it turns all the way back down. So like the tone is consistent, but like some of the plot lines are a bit like sporadic, especially with like Will and Carson. Like one moment those two are like, oh, we're all cool, and then another moment they're like literally like at each other's throats. So but at the same time though, you can make the argument, well, sometimes those arguments like that do happen with family members. Like out of nowhere, I'm walking in the hallway and I hear my brother say "F you." I was, like, you know what I mean. So, well,
that actually holds true to the dynamic of Will and Carlton in the sitcom.
Yeah, great
because they were great, bro. They were like brothers for sure, but they went at it. And I mean, of course that happens when you have a sibling, right? Like brother or sister, you get into arguments, but once that calms down and there's resolution,
you sort of move on. It's like, oh, okay,
move on, yeah. And I think
5 minutes, 5 minutes later, but you're back to the same.
Yeah. And I think that held true with this. At first, I will say, I was kind of confused that it was so. Carlton was he's more of an asshole. He's an asshole.
Pretty much insufferable in the first.
Yeah, 4 or 5 episodes. He was.
Yeah.
He was really going at it. And I'm like, bro, like, calm down, man. Like, it ain't all of that. But you could tell as the season progresses, he actually evolves.
Yeah.
And becomes a little more mature. He still has his issues, but he's still mature. He's getting more mature. And I like that.
Yeah. And I'm glad you say that, because I also feel like the Carlton's evolution happened so quickly.
It did.
Almost.
It did.
And I was kind of wishing that maybe they lingered more on, because I feel like sort of he essentially agrees to the relationship with Lisa and Will. So for those who are unaware, Lisa is another character. I'm not sure if she ever appeared in the original series.
She did.
Did she? So
yeah.
Lisa was Carlton's ex. Will and Lisa are developing a relationship with one another, etc. And then Carlton, says out loud for us, it's going to hurt, but I accept it. Yeah. I think they should have never, like, I honestly feel like they should have like really sustained that. We don't need to, as the audience, we already know how Carlton may feel about his own cousin dating his ex. Right?
I'm telling you right now, if my cousin ever tried to date my
ex, going down,
bro, we are going at it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
So I think embrace as insufferable Carlton was in the beginning, embrace that. Have there be like a subtlety to it, where
yeah.
you sort of see him look at Will differently. But at the same time, too, do you want like Carlton to really stay that way the entire season? No, but I just feel like it just happened so quickly that I feel like maybe another episode or two, you know, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it kind of like it just happened. So it just happened like that. I was like, oh wow, like they're making up one another. So stuff like that could have been improved upon, but you know, you can always make arguments for it. Like you said, I mean, they're essentially brothers. By the end of the show, a moment that could have been a bit more better earned.
Yes.
I feel like they could have done like more situations to have them be together besides like registering for voting, because a lot of their scenes come from, or a lot of their like character moments lead to have them making individual decisions, and then that creates a ripple effect for the other to find out. So I feel like more scenes of them should have been together. So like it really hammers in like, like have them witness, you know, I'm not saying like, or even have Carlton walk in as Lisa and Will are like having a conversation, and then like his jealousy starts taking over again.
Yes.
Lean more into sort of his drug abuse problem. Have him face like legitimate consequences.
Yeah.
As opposed to like having a throwaway line of, oh, you know, I tossed away everything. You know what I mean? So stuff like that.
I think it's possible we could see him do it again in season 2.
Yeah.
I think it's very possible because, you know, that's not something you just drop, like,
you know, exactly.
You know, quit that cold turkey like that. It's not that easy. So I agree though. I think his development was great. I do see where you're coming from with the Lisa Will thing. I in the sitcom, Lisa and Carlton were never together.
Oh, so you didn't have the whole door reveal. Gotcha.
Yeah. They actually I gotta watch it again, but that wasn't the thing. That wasn't even a part of it. So that was a new aspect to it, which I actually liked it. I didn't I wasn't against it. I think
created more of a bridge between the two characters.
It created something else for them there. So I liked it. But what did you think about Ashley? Because Ashley in this show is nothing like Ashley in the sitcom. And again, she's probably similar in certain aspects. Let me put it like that. But she's not I don't know how to actually describe her. She is she is still trying to figure life out. I will say that she is trying to figure life out and figure out who she is and come to her own, because I think when the series started, Ashley was somewhere around 10 or 11 maybe. I don't know how old this one is. I think she's probably close to like
12. 12.
Yeah.
I think she's so basically this. Yeah,
not too far off. So they're pretty close. But this Ashley, I liked her. It was a good balance because, again, we don't get more of Ashley in a sitcom until she gets a little older. Like, she's still there. You see her, I think, pretty much every episode, but she's not as evolved until I think like season 2 or 3.
Yeah, which is what they're probably waiting for in the show. And I'm glad you asked about that question. So I think, was she you can correct me if I'm wrong, in the show, is she lesbian or bisexual?
She's straight.
In the show, I mean the Bel Air. You're all good.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. I think
so. I want to obviously use the label her, or not like label her correctly, but you know what I mean. Obviously, I don't want to.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Say wrong sexuality.
I'm probably just as confused as you are a little bit in that.
Yeah,
I think
I'm trying to remember, but
I want to say she's bisexual.
Okay.
I want to say that, but because she did say one in one episode when she was talking to Hillary that she likes boys, but she likes girls.
She's like attracted to yeah. So that's the one thing because I remember that conversation because I know she was attracted. So the reason I bring that up is because I think I loved they introduced that because it felt so like natural.
Yeah.
And I love like Hillary's response was just that's great. Like it wasn't like it, and that's the thing too, because so many times in films and TV, so they try to like drag it out and say, well, really, like you're this and this, like it's natural.
Yes.
Like they treat it and like it. I love like genuinely like I love that so much like to Ashley's character, you know, because it's not only is important for like representation purposes, but for her character too, just to hear like the support of her sister. I mean that means more than anything.
Yeah.
Compared to how you feel about someone she met online essentially.
Yeah, for
right.
Sure. For sure.
No, that was a great scene, but I think sort of what you hinted at before, Ashley, besides that aspect to her character, I know she's sort of interested in politics and so forth. Obviously in support of the LGBTQ plus community, but there is nothing more to a character besides that. I think they're still waiting, so I want to see her attempt to take initiative, right?
Which I think we somewhat saw though. I think we saw that.
100%.
A little glimpse of that. So I think you're right about that.
And I think in episode was it episode 8 or 9 where she was talking to her mother. I like you remember she was talking to her mother in the kitchen about launching like a certain initiative. I know. So well, she spoke to the Reverend, and definitely spoke to the Reverend in episode actually in the episode 9. If I'm not mistaken, when they went to when they attended church. Like another example of making sure that like LGBTQ plus members are like widely accepted in the church and so forth. So those elements are there. It's just a matter of like that's why I said like the foundation is there. And they probably just they were probably so focused on all the different storylines that actually became like very sidelined. Like there were times when they were because there's a lot of like workarounds. Oh, she went like on a class trip in one episode like for the party we'll host it for Carlson. So obviously I'm assuming no doubt we'll see more of her. I just hope that they actually give her like have her be more around, don't be the character who's sort of like what I mean, like there's a lot they can do with the character.
You don't want her to be an afterthought at all, but I don't think she will be. I think she I think she will actually be someone that is going to be integral with some of the story development. Because I think
undoubtedly,
if I'm going to predict it, I'm going to say, how in this season Carlton was the one that found himself needing a lot of help. I think we're going to see that with Ashley in season 2. I think we're going to see that with her in season 2, and I love the start of her character. So I'm intrigued to see where she goes and how she grows into the role, because it's something that we didn't see with Ashley, right? Like we saw in I'm talking in a sitcom, but we didn't see that with her, in depth. It was, of course, 90s shows were a little more shallow. It didn't go in depth with a lot of things. So I'm intrigued by her. I'm intrigued by what they're going to do with her, because I think in this sitcom, especially, that's also why I was kind of confused at first. But then I see where they're going with it. What Uncle Phil was running to be district attorney. He's actually a judge in the sitcom. So I was wondering, like, what, how they're going to get there. I'm assuming this is, with him ending his campaign and stuff like that. They're asking, after that episode, like, what's your next move? I think we're going to start seeing him go into that. So I'm my assumption is that is going to tie in with the initiative that Ashley wants to to push.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's going to be very interesting to see. But lastly, what did you think about Will? Jabari Smith.
Yeah, he killed it. For lack of a better word.
Yeah.
I saw a bit of myself in him, in a sense of like, well, you know what's interesting is for me, like I never had, so I've had the luxury of sort of like growing up in a, you know, in a like a strong family household, etc. So being able to see a character who, you know, who's clearly at the top of his game, but still has, you know, like issues he doesn't want to present to other people. You know, like the idea of being abandoned by his father at a young age. So he never had an opportunity to have that like stern paternal figure in the household constantly, which is him and his mother. And then so to see him having to assimilate into a different culture was was great. And I'm definitely assuming that was one of the main premises of the sitcom too. Only difference is more in like a hyper realistic sense, for obvious reasons. It was just, and even like I think the scene that stood out to me in one of the beginning episodes was when he entered the boys' locker room, and then he obviously heard them sing, singing a rap song, and words being used, etc. And he was like, "Hey," he was like, watch your mouth. Like, why are you saying that for?" And then Carlton, you know, being rather ignorant on the matter, not realizing the hurtfulness saying the word can bring, leads to them sort of having this what he called like a spirited debate for his mother walked in, and I love that. You know what I mean? Because it really gave an opportunity for Will to sort of look at life outside of the prism of West Philadelphia.
Because he had never been anywhere outside of that.
He never been anywhere else. And obviously him bringing in his friend Trey, who was involved in his whole situation. For context, people, situation being that Will was given gun charges after he basically fired it on the basketball court to save his friend's life. And then obviously his mother sent him off to Bel Air to secure a better life for himself, etc. But yeah, it was just, and obviously, his friend Trey, they have this very like emotional argument about, oh, so you're gonna leave all this behind? You're gonna leave me behind? Like, what? Like everyone keeps asking for you, and you sort of see Will struggling between, do I want to return to, where I belong, so to speak, or do I stay where I am? And I think, so that's always that's probably the most difficult decision you can make, one of the most difficult decisions you can make in your lifetime is, sort of leave behind the place you familiarize yourself with.
It's your comfort zone. It's your comfort zone, and I think what he started to realize was he was not going to grow in that comfort zone. Like, you have to be uncomfortable to grow. Like, that's what growing pains are. It's not a fun thing, right? So I think that completely right. I'm glad you brought Trey up because in the sitcom, Trey is actually played by Don Cheadle. And
is he actually? Oh wow.
This guy, bro, when I saw him, they didn't even need to tell me who that character was. I knew exactly who that guy was supposed to be when they first showed Trey. I'm like, okay, cool. You're showing Trey. Trey was only in, I think, like one episode in the sitcom.
Oh, but John, like a guest starring appearance and all that.
Yeah. And that's what I love, that we might not see Trey again. We might not see him again, but I'm not opposed to seeing him again because I thought he brought some another element to the table. Kind of made Will. I think that's actually where Will started actually feeling comfortable in Bel Air, because up until that point he wasn't comfortable.
Yeah,
I think by the time Trey got there, it was just like, oof.
I settled down, and and I sort of forged all these new relationships, and
Yeah.
That's one, and something I did want to mention because I know the argument I was referring to took place at a concert. A detail I love, and this is probably applicable to most television shows, but I love when there is no music.
Yes.
In argument scenes.
Yes.
Because I want to feel the as an audience member. I do not need a musical cue to make me feel, to make me laugh.
Yeah.
To make me cry.
Yeah.
All of that should happen organically. So to just have dialogue sequences where you hear nothing but characters' voices elevating is a detail I will forever love. And I know this isn't exclusive to the show, but it was absolutely necessary. And even the way to integrate music in the show is just to reinforce culture, right? And to ultimately, and also like obviously gives a nice layer to Will as well. Honestly, and music can say a lot about a character's personality. Because obviously Will is very like a very, trying to find a word, like almost like I was gonna say jovial, but like a joyful and spirited person with an obviously difficult past. So that's something I wanted to bring up.
No, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because the first episode opened up to basically a tribute to Phil James Avery's Uncle Phil, right? Because when it opened up, first things first, rest in peace, Uncle Phil, that J. Cole bar, right? From Forest Hills Drive. And it was subtle, but it was a nice nod to not only James Avery, but to the sitcom.
Yeah.
And then
almost
it
like
goes right
almost like a farewell to what was.
Yes.
And now this is a new beginning for
And I love that they did that, because this is music isn't, like you said, used to control the audience. It's just used to set the scene.
Yeah. Or to reinforce emotions.
And I love that. I don't need to, like you said, I don't need to be told what to do, when, where. Like, your dialogue does that. Especially, I think I saw one of the biggest examples of that was actually Will meeting his father. And it was that scene. See, I figured we were going to have that at some point. I thought it was going to be in the next season. I didn't think it was going to be season 1. Because
I was under that impression too.
Yeah,
it would have been like a quick cliffhanger, but I am glad they Marlon Wayans. I was shocked. I was like,
how'd you feel
about Marlon Wayans? I was thrown off for a second, because
me too.
I was like, I'm used to him being in all these like different comedy movies. And to see him in like a more serious role, I was like, he's doing honestly, I completely forgot. Like, I didn't see Marlon Wayans at all. I was
Lou.
I was like, what on? He can, like, when given the opportunity, he can act. And I was just like flabbergasted. I'm like, what on earth? Because all I've seen for you are just, essentially comedies that have just been poorly received left and right. He has so much talent. Genuinely, like, he is talented.
This is actually not the first role we've seen him that was a serious role, though.
Requiem for a Dream.
I didn't even watch that. I
haven't watched it either, but I know that's one of his career highlights.
G.I. Joe was the one that I was thinking about. He was in I think the
live action.
The live action, and I didn't know how to take him in that film either. I was so thrown off when I saw him in that. But
to see him in a different environment.
As you watch, because you gotta think about it too. Like, comedians, especially when they're actors and playing these different roles,
they're typecasted a lot.
They're typecasted, but they're also operating in that role of emotion. It's just joy, right? that's what we see. So being able to see him in this role, and I mean, he was you felt it, but like dude was actually crying. I was like, hold up, like that's an actual tear.
Yeah.
Whoa, like I didn't expect him to go that far. And I'm sorry, I did see Requiem for a Dream. I saw that because we actually did a review on that for one of the old shows, No Chase Film Society. I actually did watch that movie. That was intriguing. That was
Yeah.
intriguing, but it didn't have this level for him.
Yeah.
Right. And I actually I love that he did this. I was thrown off because as he was walking into the house, they were showing the back of his head for a second. But as he walked into the house, I was like, hold on, is that Marlon? And he turned around. I was like, no, that is did
Yeah.
not expect that. But
Even the way his line delivery was strong too, having this sort of
very strong.
this sort of bass,
Yeah.
and almost he even, I'm not sure if you noticed this too, but he sort of his words like seem to be coming out of like a certain part of his mouth almost.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
one side,
Yeah.
if you notice that, like it was
Yeah.
sort of I was trying to think of like the right word, but it felt almost I'm trying to think of like the right. I can't think of like the right word, but you know what I'm referring to. It's
Yeah, for
just
sure.
just the way like he delivered himself. And how
Yes.
every line was intended on packing a punch.
Yeah.
Or even in the scene where he's arguing with Will, and you see a single tear drop from his eyes,
Mm-hmm.
over the hurtfulness of his words.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, does he really deserve the right? The father does he really deserve the right to be crying, knowing that he would have made zero attempt to reconnect with Will,
Mm-hmm.
despite having been out of prison for 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that they did that. I didn't expect it at first when they showed him. I'm like, I don't think that was the right casting. As the scene went
Yeah.
on, I got into it. I'm like, okay, this is not Marlon. This is Luke.
Yeah.
I am perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, that was just overall though. I just, like I said, I mean, I have my criticisms, but I really like this show,
Yeah.
and I just thank you for the recommendation. Otherwise,
Oh, most definitely.
I would have never been interested in seeing it for myself.
Yeah. No, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think one last thought on it for me.
Yeah. For sure.
What I loved about this whole thing compared to the sitcom, they put an emphasis on casting actors that had a darker complexion. And that was something, especially like in the 90s, where that wasn't the thing. Yeah, like most of the cast was lighter skin or more fair. And that I actually appreciated that with this. Will, Ashley, they're lighter, right? Perfect. I don't have a problem with it, but the fact that they put an emphasis on casting darker complected actors, I appreciated that for sure, because that was a theme, especially when they switched Aunt Viv's in the sitcom. Was like dark skin Aunt Viv, light skin Aunt Viv. Like, okay, like this is interesting. But it's been something that has been a intriguing discussion in the Black community for years now, in terms of the complexion and you know, having that representation, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
I think I think them doing the cast the way they did it, chef's kiss. I appreciate that so much, that they leaned into that and were not afraid.
And you know what frustrates you too is you're obviously aware of who Tim Burton is.
Yeah.
I do need like sources to back this up. But if you're aware of this, obviously feel free to chime in. I think at some point Tim Burton said that, to paraphrase, that he wouldn't cast people of color because they don't appear as good on cameras. Or basically the gist of what he was saying.
I've never heard that quote, but that's not shocking.
And the sad reality, like it was absurd. Again, I'd have to like look at the for his exact quote, but I think I'm pretty sure he tried justifying his lack of representation in films
of course.
It's like
that's
like,
Hollywood.
You know what I mean?
That's Hollywood, man. That's because we can go into this all day, but
yeah,
this is something that has been an issue for years. And you know, having someone that's darker complected in a role like they have with this show,
yeah,
I am excited about what we're going to see moving forward. This is going to be a great show. I actually think this will be, and I could be living in the moment, but I think that this show can actually be as memorable for this generation as it was for us. Like, it could be just as main of a staple if they, you know, as long as they hold true to what they're doing and whatever. I think it could hold to the same standard that we had for the original sitcom. So love it.
Yeah,
Absolutely love it.
Yeah, he said, I was just looking this up right now. Yeah, I'm very happy you mentioned that. So basically he said, what was it he said? He made like such a weird. Okay, let me read the Washington Post real quick. It's basically like it's more. I think it may be more underlying, but like the message, like basically,
you know,
like
what the message is.
Clear.
Yeah.
So he basically said like okay, so this is a quote he said, and then you could take away from it. He said, "I remember back when I was a child watching the Brady Bunch. These are his exact words. The Brady Bunch, and they started to get all politically correct. Like, okay, let's have an Asian child and a black. Literally his exact words. I used to get more offended by that than just I grew up watching blaxploitation movies, right? And I said that's great.
Yeah.
I didn't go like, okay, there should be more white people in these movies. I
that's again.
Those are his exact words. It's from, for anyone interested, it's Tim Burton. So the headline is Tim Burton explains why his movies. Why his movies are full of white people. It's from the Washington Post, dated September 29th of 2016. So in case anyone's interested in reading up more fully. So I'd have to look at it more specifically to see what the context was. It is that I think that was a quote I was referring to. Mm-hmm. I think he said something else like after the fact. But I think like with what he said there, I think it's pretty much as clear as day, like where he stands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Nah, I mean, and that's a problem with having everybody in positions of power. That
yeah,
like care about that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
We're in a time now where I think the tides are shifting. I think we're gonna have more representation in different areas. That's gonna help people learn more about each other. That's my hope that we start seeing. That's why I'm glad. Again, speaking to what we were talking about earlier, that Pixar is doing their movies the way they're doing them. You're able to learn about different cultures and be fascinated by certain things within the film that make you want to do research. And I think we're starting to get to that point now where we're doing that, putting that in different films and shows. So that's why I think that them doing the way they did the cast, it's amazing. It's amazing. And you don't even look at them like that. You're just looking at them as a character, you know, and hoping that they stay true to what their character was. And they do.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, I think, you know, we've reached a point where any official casting
mm-hmm.
of like the LGBTQ plus community or person of color is literally like is immediately riddled with, okay, why does this matter? Like, they're just actors who are getting cast in movies. Like, if someone's existence bothers you that much, like, sorry, I don't mean to go on a rant about this, but like,
yeah,
like, dude, like, relax.
It's not
like
that.
you literally you act as if like Hollywood hasn't been full of white actors for like 70 plus years. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like I can go on about it all day. It's just mind boggling. Yeah. Like the extent people like try to justify how they feel about not wanting X amount of people to appear in films. I understand if you want people to be like accurately represented, you want people who are the most qualified to get jobs, but then don't sit around and complain when people who are qualified to get the jobs just so happen to be a minority. And then you get mad because they're somehow like, no, like, it's just like, you know exactly what I'm getting at.
It's entitlement. I mean? That's all it is, man.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm happy to see like more efforts being made. And like my thing is this: make sure just have everything feel organic. Have every actor like feel comfortable in their own skin. Like, give them the platform to make a character that people can see themselves in, and that will forever be important. For sure. Don't reinforce stereotypes on certain races, sexualities, etc. Like, have when people watch a movie or a show or read a book, they should say, you know what, I really do see myself in that character. And that's ultimately the beauty of being able to craft these kinds of stories, albeit in a much different medium.
Yeah. So, for sure. Well, Matt, I appreciate you for coming on, man. This has been a great episode, bro. We finally got to get a lot of our takes off, and I'm glad that you're able to come on, man. Let everybody know where they can find you real quick.
Yeah, it's gonna be Matt_T29. It's gonna over on Instagram. So like I said, just thank you so much, first of all, to Derrick for giving the opportunity to hop on here and really just discuss what we did today. Like I really do appreciate it, as always, for what you've done for all of OTS, and obviously for all the support you show on We Can Be Heroes for the past year, I think, at this point, which is crazy. It's crazy to think about. But yeah, so like I said, just thank you, and of course to the people at home who are going out of the way to watch us. Every view counts, and we appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You can find me at Derrick_OTS, DERRICK. You can actually, more so, please just follow the brand at OTS Media Co. All social media platforms. At OTS Media Co. At OTS Media on YouTube and OTSMediaCo.com. You can check out all the articles, shows that we have. Please go out, support We Can Be Heroes. Matt and Jonathan do a phenomenal job with that show, and hold it down for sure. Discuss everything. If you're into anything comic book related, any films or shows, you definitely want to watch the show. Especially if you're watching any of the stuff that Disney Plus puts out, any of their series. Please check it out. It's a great, phenomenal show. Rate, review, let us know what you guys think. About not only about Reelish, but We Can Be Heroes as well. Please, we need that engagement to go up, so just give us your feedback. But until next time, we will catch you guys then. Thank you for watching and or listening. We'll see y'all then.
Thank you.